currently in our current Colorado ballots, if there is only one office that is being fought over and you cast votes for two of the candidates for it, that particular portion of your ballot will be discarded as an overvote. The advantages for approval voting is it's very simple. It's simply the clerks, the people running the election, removing that restriction. Also, I feel that what this would permit is my hypothetical example is in the year 2000 in Florida, if you had an adamant Green voter desperate to vote for Nader, but knowing that Nader had very little chance of winning, under approval voting, he could vote for both Nader and Gore.
Both the Green Party candidate and the Democratic candidate.
And the Democrat candidate, yes.
But he wouldn't vote for the Republican.
Well, he might not. Well, that's the ugly situation. Let's say in 2000, this particular individual despised George Bush. Under approval voting, yes, he can vote for everyone except George Bush.
Okay.
And so this lets you there's two specific situations where you're more likely to cast that second vote. One is if you know you're going to be voting for a spoiler. What might have been previously a spoiler now lets you vote for used to be a spoiler and the Mr. Electable. Also, the other situation that I give people is I suspect that Huckabee and Romney split the religious right vote. No one knowing initially which one was going to go further. Under approval voting, in the primaries, those Republicans could have voted for both religious right votes and let it be sorted out further on, rather than see them eliminated early and ignominiously.
So how do you decide who wins then?
Like standard elections, the winner is the candidate that collects the most votes.
Right.
And this is a rating system rather than a ranking system. I strongly recommend individuals to look at the book Gaming the Vote.
Right.
And this rapidly becomes quite esoteric between instant runoff voting, proportional representation, approval voting. I like approval voting because it's so simple to implement.
Can you do it as easily on paper ballots as you can with machines to tally the vote?
Yes, you'd still be there. And on my particular postcard that I send people, one of the statements I make is elections haven't been around forever. Who says they've been perfected?
Right.
And I think all three of us are in agreement that something needs to be done. A better voting alternative needs to be generated to reduce this number of spoilers, fewer spoilers, less sabotage, more civility.
Yeah. I got spoiler all the way through the 2008 election against Udall and Schaefer. Like, you're going to make it possible for Schaefer to win if you get enough votes from the Democrats. But, the Green Party has positions, like Gary said,
Right.
on issues that perhaps are more Republican
Cross-party
than
lines.
Democrat. Yeah.
Yes.
And the whole idea that there's just two possible points of view on an issue or on the whole matter of governance is crazy. I mean, to boil it down to that is to boil it down to mindless thinking in a way. It's just, you're a communist, you're a socialist, or something like that, or you're a real capitalist. That says nothing
Counterproductive.
about solving problems, does it?
No, and as a libertarian, I've been beaten up for the wasted vote. And yes, there are people out there that label me a Lusitarian because of that wasted vote, because definitionally third parties sabotage their philosophical ally. May I go down the Abraham Lincoln tangent? The Abraham Lincoln tangent is that he's the poster child of a third party winning. No. Look into the details. Number one, the abolitionists did not split off from him, but promptly stayed in lockstep with him, because what did they know? Third parties sabotage their philosophical allies. Who did get sabotaged by the third party? Stephen Douglas, as the Northern Democratic candidate, got sabotaged by Buchanan, the Southern Democrat candidate. So instead of viewing Lincoln as the poster child for how a third party candidate surfaced, and maybe there's possibilities of one of us becoming the Abraham Lincoln of this next election. I wish you well, Bob.
I want to be the Bernie Sanders of Colorado.
And I hope you make it. Hope you make it there. Great. Gary, you were...
Frank, I'd like to make some comments about the difference between approval voting and other voting systems.
Sure.
Approval voting measures how widely acceptable a candidate is to the voting population. It doesn't necessarily measure the depth of support for a particular candidate, and it doesn't provide fair representation for political minorities. Political minorities don't win representation through either instant runoff voting or through approval voting. It's a majority voting method. And there's a similarity in another way between instant runoff voting and proportional systems, in that true proportional systems and instant runoff voting are both sincere methods of voting. That means that you're expressing a clear preference, and there's no strategic reason for not expressing your choices. Under approval voting, you indicate which candidates are acceptable to you, but you don't indicate which candidates you like more than others, and it tends to favor candidates who are not controversial.
I hear you on that. My reading with regards to instant runoff voting is that instant runoff voting continues where it's been applied in, I believe, Australia and Ireland, continues to perpetuate two-party dominance, because strategically voters don't dare vote for a third party towards the top. And no one knows what the unintended consequences of any of these changes are. I'm hoping, I like to believe that for approval voting, what will happen is it will give voice to the extremes and elect the moderates. Granted, some people may find that objectionable.
Looks like we're kind of getting close to the end of our time. For those of you who are watching and puzzled by this, of course, we've suggested a book that might be helpful. That would be...
Gaming the Vote by William Poundstone.
Okay. Gaming the Vote by William Poundstone. But you got an opportunity to try out some of these other ways of voting in your town, in your county, in your city. Why not press for that? Talk to your to the people who are responsible, your county clerk, your whoever is responsible for setting the rules for voting in your local area. Let's experiment a little bit with democracy and see if we can't broaden the discussion and include more people's points of view in problem solving, that serious problem solving that we have to manage over the next few decades. Else we're not going to be able to fix what's broken. So thank you for listening
Thank
to the
you.
Greens. Thank you
Thanks.
for being
Thank you all.